Objection, everyone! Hi, everybody. Heather Mason 76 here. This is actually going to be one of my first little reviews. I just recently got back from seeing Ace Attorney. The film fest here in DC actually had it tonight, along with tomorrow night, and I actually have tickets to go tomorrow night to go see it again, seeing as I'm actually meeting up with a couple friends to go see it tomorrow. But I took some notes, so I'm going to tell you what my thought was about the movie. So here goes. When they started the movie, it opened with Misty Faye, who is, if anybody's ever played the game, it covers Maya and Mia's mother, Misty Faye, who's a spirit medium. They cover the part where she's contacting Gregory Edgeworth's ghost in the afterlife to find out who the murderer was in the DL6 case. How it's executed, it's really done really well. Like, I really liked how it was done. You could see the two children in the background. You could see Maya and Mia in the background watching their mother doing this channeling, along with these other people that are trying to witnessing to try to find out who the killer is. They actually show Gregory Edgeworth in the afterlife. Although the afterlife, for me, in my opinion, how they made it looks a little bit kind of like hell. Like, it doesn't look like it's the right place for Gregory Edgeworth to be. But it's weird because, like, there's planes flying overhead, but everything's like a reddish orange kind of like fire, which is how you would think it would be. But then again, this is done by Japan. This movie's done by Japan. So their thoughts of afterlife may be a lot different of a scene than a lot of us from other countries. So it might just be the coloring and the texture for what they used for the afterlife effect, instead of, you know, just making us, but that's what it made me think anyway. There's another part where Von Karma talks to Edgeworth in his study about his trials that he's had lately in the court system, and the fact that his reputation has been kind of going down the tubes in the courtroom because of all these rumors going around about him with evidence. So the beginning actually is kind of a jumbled mix. The opening that they do with Phoenix and with Edgeworth is a mix of actually two trials. Edgeworth is actually doing the Steel Samurai one, while Phoenix Wright is doing the Larry Butt / Thinker murder mystery one for the original, which is the original first trial that you do in the game anyway, with finding out that Mr. Sawit is the murderer. And it's kind of funny because there is a part where, even in the game, Mr. Sawit gets so frustrated with, you know, basically he's trying to hide that he was the one that murdered this woman, and when he's basically ratted out, he gets so pissed off he throws his toupee, and it hits Phoenix in the face. Yeah, they didn't shy away from that. That actually does happen in this movie, which is great, because everybody laughed at that part. It was pretty freaking funny to see. The jumbled mix of trials for the first two cases isn't that bad, but I'm kind of disappointed the fact that they kind of really sped over the Steel Samurai case, even though it's not a major case, of course, anyway. But it's nice that they even at least thought about throwing at least parts of it in. But you didn't get to see any of the major characters from that case. All you saw was the woman that was the producer or the director. And you didn't get to see any other people from the set or anything else, which is kind of a disappointment to me, because I would have at least wanted to see Wendy Oldbag, but we never got to see her at all, so it's kind of a disappointment. But that's not, you know, that's not really much really to complain about, seeing as this movie's about 2 hours long, and with a movie, you can't really make it more than 2 hours long and try to fit everything in, and you could tell that they were trying to fit as much as they possibly could from the games into it, but there's only so much that they could do. So with the writing and stuff, like, they had to change certain things around, and you can tell with the pacing with this that that's what they had to do. But it works. Like, how they did it with the pacing and everything, it works out really well. They did it the way that they did. They also have it where, with the toupee being thrown, it just, I don't know, that first case just made it so fun. But, yeah, the clock that's in it, now, I know a lot of nerds are gonna freak out about certain little things that are in this movie, like extreme nerds, like ones that, like, that are, like, super picky. Now, I'm a huge fan of the Phoenix Wright series, but there were a few things that they did that I was kind of like, okay, they kind of didn't need to do it that way, but it's, you know, I mean, this is probably going to be one of the better, to be honest, I can tell you now, this is going to be one of the better video game to movie adaptations you're going to see, period, bar none, that's it. But, of course, there's still going to be flaws in it. It's not going to be perfect, especially for people that are, like, huge fans of the games. I'm not saying don't go see it, but I'm saying just go with an open perspective about how much time constraints they had with each case, and the fact that they had to try to link everything up together to make it work, along with scenes and everything else, to try to make it so everybody that was watching the movie, especially if they've seen it for the first time, that they would understand. Mind you, everybody that was in the seating with us was all people that were fans of the Phoenix Wright series from the get-go, I believe, anyway, because one of those stupid asshat projector people that was back in the, working with the projector, screwed up a few times. So, of course, we're watching a scene, and all of a sudden it goes black. And you just hear, like, 20 people in the theater go, "Objection!" And it's like, you know you're with your kind when you and, like, 20 random people that you don't even know yell objection in the middle of a theater. Like, everybody caught on. It was pretty funny. But yeah, anyway, so there are a few things that nerds are going to point out that they're really going to freak out about. First, like I said, is the fact that they don't cover a lot of the Steel Samurai case at all, period. So you only get to see either the female woman that's the murderer in the first place, and Edgeworth's the only one that's there. It's not Phoenix at all. So that's the major issue right there. That a lot of people are going to point out. The second thing people are going to point out is probably at the very beginning, with Mia Fey coming in and helping Phoenix with the first. Oh, excuse me. With the first case that he's on, trying to defend his friend Larry, she mentions about how the clock was, like, so, you know, was a different time because she just gotten back from another country or whatever. Well, the clock she holds up is just a regular standard alarm clock. It's not the thinker clock, and a lot of people are going to get pissed off about that. Mind you, Larry does give Mia the thinker clock as a token of thanks at the end of that case. So it does show up. It doesn't, you know, it doesn't not show up. It does show up just later on in the story. But yeah, so those are the kind of small things that they kind of did that they changed up a little bit, but it's not something where everybody's going to be like, "Oh, fuck this movie," and just leave. Like, it's nothing really that much to be that pissed off, because like I said, it's a movie. They only had 2 hours, so they had to link everything together, so they had to do some sort of pacing between certain parts, especially the beginning, to make everything work. So yeah, anyway, so after the whole thing with the Steel Samurai case and the Larry's case, one of the first major cases, of course, is the one where Mia gets killed. So the atmosphere in the movie right after that basically turns kind of on the dark side, because the mood for this movie just makes it seem really dark, and I'll explain why in a minute. The atmosphere is already a little dark as it is because of the murder, but all the sets, like the settings, like they're like all in these little confined, like it's one of the kind of places like you would see in Japan, like the place that lawyer that Phoenix Wright had for his, you know, for Wright & Co. and for Fay & Co., the lawyer company that they had. Their space was really small. It was almost like a small little apartment. And then on top of that, it was, you know, there wasn't that much lighting. And, you know, having him just huddled over books and stuff trying to find evidence, like, that was the kind of thing, like, you'd want to see, though, in the movie. So I really did enjoy at least that part. But I didn't like the fact that all the settings were, like, super, super dark. Even some of the characters were dark. And they really didn't need to be. Like, they should have been a little bit more colorful. Like, there were, like, okay, they had a lot of heart in it. And it's like, the woman's got, like, an 8-foot afro. And it's like, you couldn't make Red White, like, with the purple hair and the purple suit and the bling and all that stuff like he's supposed to. Instead, he's, like, completely drenched in black. It just looks like somebody threw a big bucket of black paint on him. Like, he has, like, smoothed out, like, black hair just all the way down, and then he's wearing, like, a black shirt and a black leather jacket, black pants, black boots. There's no color on this guy. He's even wearing black sunglasses in the courtroom. It's just like, you have no color. What happened to Red White? Like, and then not only that, but he's talking about working for some magazine company. It's not Blue Corp. So it kind of changed up a few things. But like I said, they all still kind of come together a little bit better than you would think. The characters that you do see do look a little campy. Like, of course, Phoenix Wright has a slick back hair. Maya's wearing, you know, the medium costume, which of course is campy as it is, and then Lotta Hart has that huge ass afro. So I mean, Yanni Yogi has his regular, like, homeless man kind of look, and then Edgeworth looks like Edgeworth. Von Karma, I'm still kind of about, because whenever I played the game, I always thought of him as like a 7-foot tall, like, you know, older guy that's just like, roar. You know, that's what he always seemed like, at least to me. But instead, like, he's a short, stubby little, like, man with, like, these long, like, white hair. And it looks kind of weird. I think it's just because of the animation from the game, and then trying to make it, you know, fit for a person is kind of like, eh. But the personality matches well with it for the guy that plays him. So it's completely forgivable as far as I'm concerned. But, yeah, so, like, the one character that probably looks, like, to the T is probably Larry. Like, Larry looks completely like he should. Like, his hair is, like, straight up in certain points, and then his jacket and everything, like, everything just works. Like, like I said, everybody's pretty much all in their outfits from the game, except for, like, some of the random people that are in it, like a couple of the bad guys that are noticed. Mind you, Sawit, the guy from the first case, he looks like he's supposed to, but it doesn't. For some reason, Red White, for some reason they wanted to change him, and I don't understand why, but they did. So I was kind of like, meh. The one other thing is, like, when they try to show, if you've seen the trailers already, they do the digital screens, and they go, take that, and then they push the evidence, and then, like, it goes through people and whatever. At the beginning of the movie, when they try to start showing all the stuff off, like, Edgeworth snaps his fingers, and there's this huge-ass machinery thing that comes down out of the, like, roof of the courtroom, and it's like, holy crap, like, how much money does the court system have to cover that type of thing? But, like, it's pretty cool, like, seeing all that machinery and stuff come down, because at least that explains the digital screens and stuff. But it's just kind of weird, like, seeing them, like, set up like that. But yeah, like I said, the nerds, the extreme nerds are gonna freak out that Red White's not colorful at all. Some of the characters are missing from certain cases, especially the one with Red White. April May is missing, which kind of really sucks. Mr. Grossberg is missing, and so is the butler. So it's kind of meh about characters. Like, they could have easily added those people in, but they didn't at all. So it's like, so you really only had the one person in the hotel room, so it's like, it's obvious it was him. But they figured it out with the light, with the glass light stand, like they did originally, like with the receipt. They did it the same way like they did in the game, pretty much. They just didn't have those other 3 characters I guess, like I said, to probably cut down on time. So they had to cut it down on something. Maya brings up the DL6 case to Red White as he's being taken away. So, of course, it adds a little bit of pacing because it makes Edgeworth obviously put 2 and 2 together and kind of understand where Maya's linked into the whole thing with DL6. So it kind of helps a couple of things get pushed along and make it work a little faster and a little better in the movie. A couple of things are linked up a little bit differently than in the game, of course, but that's, like I said, for time constraints, but at least it's executed a little bit better than you would think it would be. So it's not, you know, that wasn't really too bad. The flashbacks that they did with Phoenix when he was a kid and the lunch money got stolen from Edgeworth and them, it was really cute. Like, there were, I believe there was like 2 flashbacks when they were kids, and they're adorable. Like, they look so cute. Like, Edgeworth looks adorable in his cute little, like, bow tie and little getup, and then you see a Phoenix with his slick back hair with, like, the little spike, and then you see the whole thing with Larry with his hair being so crazy still and his little lanky body. It's really funny. It's really funny to see them as little kids, at least, you know, depicted in this movie, even for a few seconds. The movie sets a rather nice mood with Edgeworth and Wright and Phoenix Wright, although there are a few moments I swore, like when they looked at each other and they would talk to each other, I was like, oh god, there's gonna be so many fanfics after this. It's like, Rule 34! Rule 34! It's like, no! Yeah, I like the whole thing about how they were starting to eventually trust each other, but there were certain parts where they were just, like, looking into each other's eyes, and, like, I almost wanted to be like, just kiss already. Just kiss already. It was just really, I guess it's just how they were depicted in the movie, but there were a couple parts where they just seemed a little bit too close. Some of the soundtrack actually is from the original game, but they're done on a grander scale, especially, like, you know, like a symphony orchestra, and it makes it really nice, especially the settings for, like, certain parts for, like, the courtroom and, like, going through investigations and stuff like that. Of course, they're used very sparingly, but when they are used, they're used in good spots, so it's not like, you know, they're just used randomly throughout the movie. They're actually used in good points in the movie, so it's forgivable. I'm really kind of hoping at some point they hopefully release, like, a soundtrack to go to this movie that people can download or buy, because that's kind of pretty awesome, hearing some of the greatest songs that, like, or greatest little tunes that you could hear, like, on the Phoenix Wright game, and then you can hear them on a grander scale, like symphony orchestra style. Like, I kind of really like that, you know? So I'm kind of hoping that they release a soundtrack or something where you're able to listen to that more often. The reactions to everyone taking a piece of evidence was pretty comical. Like, for instance, if somebody would be like, objection, da-da-da-da-da, she did this with that, and everybody's like, what? And it's just like, when like, people get physically thrown back by evidence being, like, objectioned, not objection, you know what I mean, like, being used against what, you know, as a contradiction or something, you all of a sudden see randomly people just dive out of their seats in the entire, like, courtroom, and it's comical. It really is. Like, it really sets at least a comic undertone with how dark the parts of the movie is. Like, it does really, really set a really good comical undertone with it, since it's kind of campy and stuff anyway. So it's not like you won't laugh in this. You really will. There's a couple parts that you really will laugh at through the movie. But that part is pretty freaking funny. You'll see what I mean if you do really go see it. The judge pretty much acts like he's supposed to. He kind of acts like a coward, especially when he's talking with Von Karma, because he's you know, Von Karma pretty much, like, makes him, you know, tells him, oh, slam your gavel down, you know, this person's guilty, da 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 da. you know, and he hasn't been wrong for 40 years, so, you know, he's got to be right, you know, whatever. So, yeah, the judge does have a little bit of a cowardice to him, which is nice because that's pretty much how he acts in the game too. There's a lot of times where he sways away from what Phoenix wants him to do and does exactly the opposite. If Phoenix doesn't say hold it or doesn't, you know, stop him for something, it's, you know, it's good. I also like the fact that Phoenix, like, obviously has really bad, like, timing. Like, he says hold it, and then, like, he'll try to think of something, and then he just, I don't know. And of course it's like all in Japanese, but you know what I mean. Like, he's trying to, like, completely buy time to think up something to, like, object to it, or try to find some sort of evidence to go against this to show this contradiction or something. So I really, like, kind of like that. Plus it makes it, like I said, it also sets a really nice kind of comic undertone to it too. So I kind of like that. There's a few random parts that do happen in this movie. One is actually a part where the judge is about to rule Edgeworth guilty for the second time in this because they can't find Yanni Yogi, so they can't declare that he is Yanni Yogi, who's the boat keeper at the dock. So just when he's about to slam his gavel down, randomly the Blue Badger, which is if you know who I'm talking about, you'll laugh, because he's literally the police station's mascot. And I think it's an animatronic thing, because when it falls off the pedestal where the judge is, I swear there's no body in it. Like, there's nobody in it. Like, you don't see anybody's face or anything when it falls. But this animatronic thing just puts its hand right in front of the gavel and stops the judge from putting the gavel down. And everybody's just like, everybody in the theater was like, what the hell? Like, it was pretty funny. They do give a really good backstory to Yanni Yogi, especially covering what happened to him after he's declared not guilty by Richard Hammond being his defense attorney at the time. And it also covers stuff about how he was treated after the court case with DL6, when he was declared not guilty. They cover about his fiancée dying / committing suicide, and they cover about him naming the parrot Polly and what he really sees when he sees the parrot, which is kind of on the creepy side, but it's Japan, so you really can't really fathom that much about what they're doing. The one thing that I kind of didn't like that they changed was the elevator incident for the DL6. It didn't happen in the elevator. What happened in the elevator happened apparently in the evidence room, because apparently Gregory Edgeworth had found that the ballistic markings for these two bullets did not match whatsoever, but Von Karma did some forged evidence to prove otherwise, and when he went downstairs to find the evidence, Von Karma was actually hiding in the side, and that's kind of where everything, basically what happens in the elevator is pretty much the same exact thing that happens in the evidence room, just there's not an earthquake. What happens is Yanni Yogi and Gregory Edgeworth get into a fight. They both get knocked out, and then Yanni Yogi pushes little, you know, Miles Edgeworth, and he hits a back of a cabinet thing, and it hits him on the back of the head, so of course knocks him out. And he throws the gun with the last little bit of power he's got left in him before he passes out again. But that's the only thing that he sees. So when he throws the gun, of course, it hits the back of Yanni Yogi in the back of the head, knocking him unconscious, but it also fires. It also triggers at the fire, so when it fires, it shoots Von Karma right in the shoulder. So if anybody knows, if you know, I'm sorry if I spoiled it for everybody, but I will put a spoiler warning definitely above and below, just to make sure that people don't watch this unless they've actually played the game to know. But there are a few things, like I said, that they do change in this. Like I said, they changed the elevator incident and made it for the evidence room. But that's, you know, how it's executed. It's not really as bad as it probably sounds. didn't really look half bad either. The thing with Yana Yogi isn't really changed all that much, but the thing with the clock and the thinker kind of made me feel a little at the beginning. But when it gets further into the movie, you kind of don't really worry about it that much, to be honest. Like I said, extreme nerds are probably going to loathe about this anyway, but then again, like I said, this is probably going to be one of the best video game to movie adaptations we're going to see. Resident Evil has been a farce for God knows how long, and so is Silent Hill, and so has been so many other movies that have come out, probably within the last 8 to 10 years that's been about video games. So this is kind of our only, like, real thing to cling on to right now, and I don't know if it's just because I'm such a huge Phoenix Wright fan, but I don't think that that's just it. It's me just watching a movie, trying to enjoy it, and being a fan of the series as well, that I can honestly say I'm not giving it, like, 5-star approval, but I'll give it 4 stars, because the nerd in me kind of was like, there were certain things they changed, but there were certain things where us nerds understand certain things, especially with movies. Like, if you're cut down to 2 hours and you have to do certain pacing, then you're gonna have to cut certain things out. You're gonna have to link certain things up together differently. But how it's executed in this movie, it's executed well. So you have to give them props for at least executing that, like, the best way that they possibly could. The characters pretty much look the way that they do in the game, except for a few people, but it's kind of forgivable because they're not major characters later on in the movie. So it's okay. The major characters all look the way that they should be. So that's a good thing. The thing that's interpreted with Mia being channeled by Maya, it comes off really well. I really do enjoy it. Although it is kind of, it's kind of like, what the hell, because, like, she does it in the courtroom and Phoenix can see it and he's freaking out, but nobody else is freaking out about it because they don't understand. Like, they act like they can't see it, and it's, like, right there in the courtroom, so it's kind of like, what's going on? But it's just, you know, it's still forgivable. It's a good, so like I said, my rating for this movie, with the cast that they had that was pretty decent, the comedy undertone, the dark overtone that they had for certain parts of the movie, especially Mia getting killed, the quotes that they've used from the game, the campiness, the over ridiculous not guilty verdict with, you know, confetti and streamers going around like it does in the game, and covering, you know, parts of the game that's really well done, as well as linking things together in a different way and still executing the story really well. I really have to give this movie probably 4 stars, which is pretty good. 4 out of 5 is really good. To be honest, if you really are a fan of this series, especially Phoenix Wright series, and you have a film festival coming towards your town, I would suggest trying to look it up and seeing if it's in that list. If it is, I would suggest to go see it. At least to have your own opinion about what you think about it. Me, I personally, like I said, I give it 4 stars. I think it was really well done for what they actually were working with. Takashi Mike obviously wanted to do something really well with this series. Not only that, but the end credits you do need to watch, because it actually covers snippets here and there of the Jammin' Ninja case, which is pretty freaking sweet. And not only that, but you see Maya go away on the train. So if we honestly do support this, as much as I'm really hoping people do, that means that maybe Takashi Mike and Capcom will actually get, like, really good feedback from this, meaning we may be seeing the Phoenix Wright 2 movie, which will be freaking amazing. So, as far as I'm concerned, support the hell out of this if you possibly can. If it's coming to a film festival near you, or it's coming to, like, a random, like, theater like we have here at E Street and stuff that plays, like, random foreign films off and on, go see it if you can, because it's a really good movie. This is Heather Mason 76. Have a good night, guys.